Hey, everybody, and welcome back for another episode of the DLF Trade Show. I am your host, Russ Fisher at Dynasty He is first in the video, second on the list of hosts because for some reason, he wants me to start talking first, but first in our hearts. That's what matters, right? Addison Hayes at AmazeHayes _. And we are here to talk about trade values, both in general, in your league, in the DLF Trade Analyzer, the DLF Trade Finder. I mean, it's the trade show, so we're going to talk about it in every way we can. And today, we are going to be talking about, speaking of number ones in our hearts, and what should be number one on paper as well for the wide receivers. We're going to talk about Davante Adams. And yes, I'm coming out before we even start, before I say, hey, Addison, how are you doing? I'm letting you know that Davante Adams should absolutely be your wide receiver one. Now that that's out of the way, how you doing, Addison?
Pretty good. I mean, like I said before, I got my second shot, so I can't lift my arm higher than this right now.
So your salute's going to have to be a little...
I'm gonna go right hand salute today. Yeah.
Well, I was about to say you're about to go southpaw, but no, I guess normally you do. We were trying to figure out who to talk about, and I brought up Davante Adams because A, I'm a huge fan. B, he has... Okay, not even him. We're not going to talk about him. We're going to talk about the Dynasty community that has gone insane, that a player that is literally in his prime is now considered old, because that is ridiculous. We're so stuck on getting out before someone's a declining asset that we don't want to win championships. So let's talk about this trade. That's what we're going to do. Addison went into the DLF Trade Finder and found us a trade from a 12-team Superflex league. This trade was done, 2 days ago when we were recording, 3 days ago from when he's going to post it on the 10th. And no other details, just 12-team Superflex. This is Davante Adams and James Robinson. That's another good one that, we're going to have to talk about value for James Robinson. So Adams and Robinson for Jonathan Taylor. Now, before we get into that trade, why don't you run us through the teams, Addison?
Sure. Yep. Team A, that's the team that traded away Jonathan Taylor and got Davante Adams and James Robinson. They went 5-8 last year, came in 8th place, but I think they are kind of on the come up from a rebuild. Their quarterbacks, this is still super flex, so it's not that great, but quarterbacks are Russell Wilson, Ryan Fitzpatrick, nobody else after that. And then this is actually a Debbie league, so he has Sam Howell.
I was about to say, don't throw that short. He's going to be probably top 2 QB next year.
Right, exactly. So he at least has, a top 3 super flex pick probably next year in Sam Howell already on his roster for Debbie. Running backs, he's got Ezekiel Elliott, Josh Jacobs, James Conner, now James Robinson, Damian Harris, and then a bunch of other backups. Dude's literally rostering 20 running backs. And it's insane.
That's my kind of roster.
So he's got that going for him. Wide receivers now has Davante Adams, Robbie Anderson, Brandon Cooks, Tyler Lockett, Devonta Smith, and Kadarius Toney. And then nobody at tight end. He's got OJ Howard and Devin Asiasi. So
OJ
that's
Howard.
At least,
okay.
Yeah, that's at least that team. Team B, the team that traded away Davante Adams here for Jonathan Taylor. They completed a perfect 16-0 championship season, 13-0 in the regular season, won the 3 games. I guess that would technically be 15-0 because they had the bye, but they completed a perfect season. And so obviously the roster is still very good. They're still competing. Quarterbacks, they have Kyler Murray and Matt Ryan. Running backs, they now have Jonathan Taylor, and then they drafted Travis Etienne. And then they also have Bijan Robinson for Debbie. So that's going to be pretty solid in a couple years. Wide receivers, they have Michael Thomas, Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, and then also added Rondale Moore. And then at tight ends, they have Mark Andrews and the Cleveland Browns duo of David Njoku and Harrison Bryant. So that's what we're working with here from the team perspective for both of these teams.
Wow, that second team. Wow. I mean, doesn't even matter who their running back was before this, but because now they're just walking in with Jonathan Taylor and Travis Etienne, talking about just helping the winners win. Come on, guys. Well, I mean, losing Davante Adams, he's worried about aging out, and that's silly. Okay, so let's talk about this trade. I think this is actually insanely even for me, because Davante Adams, Jonathan Taylor, I know draft value isn't the same as trade value. And clearly Jonathan Taylor's going first in drafts, but it's not that far pick wise afterwards, that Davante Adams is getting picked. You're talking about running back 3 or 4 compared to, even if you're being silly, wide receiver 2 or 3, because I know there's some people out there that are going to say Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb are their 1 and 2, but 3 has to be Davante Adams at that point. The dude all he does is score. All he does is score, no matter what. Oh man, that was embarrassing. I'm glad that was on video.
Yeah, to break that one up real quick. Superflex. This is from April, so I don't know if this is going to adjust. I don't think we have Superflex May ADP yet, but at least from April, Jonathan Taylor was RB2 going 10th overall. Davante Adams was wide receiver 1 going 14th overall. So
exactly, yeah,
just a few picks.
Exactly, and with James Robinson's newly destroyed value, that kind of fills the gap a little bit. Again, you are going to overpay to get up to what we consider the better player. Jonathan Taylor, value-wise, is the better player. And if we're talking teams, I'm not the kind of person to say fill your starting lineup right now because it's May. So much is going to change. But if you're that kind of person and you just went 16-0 and clearly you lost a running back to something somewhere, and do I want to go in with just a rookie? No. Let me find someone who is going to score me a ton of points and keep a ton of dynasty value. Jonathan Taylor is the perfect person to go after. Just you were reading that guy's roster, and it's just like, ooh, yes. Like, this guy's roster is so damn good, and getting Jonathan Taylor just. And for the other side, like you said, he's coming up from a rebuild. He has a strong running back core with Zeke, Josh Jacobs, James Robinson, James Conner, and now James Robinson. That's a strong 2 guys with 2 guys that are going to be rotational players for him. Because I do still think James Robinson gets some play. I do think James Conner is going to get a decent amount of play because I think we've seen that Chase Edmonds isn't an every down back. And I want Benjamin to be a thing, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And that's pretty much all we've got, right?
Right.
So he made his team more solid, as a whole. And when you are in a league where someone just went 16-0, 15-0, call it whatever you want, you need to make sure you are building a solid team so then you can go get studs afterwards. So you can get those high variance guys that will give you that luck win when you jump over them. So I think this was perfect for both sides. Again, you keep finding us very good trades. One day we need to, I guess we did have 1 or 2, but we need to be no, this is what was this guy thinking? Why would they do that? But perfect. Right. I think this is a very good trade. So why don't you say how you feel about it?
Yeah, so I think the interesting part, and what probably a lot of the viewers out there are coming to this video for, is more so the analysis of, do we look to move Davante Adams now because there are not even just the factor of he is 28, and just from a dynasty community standpoint, usually 28-year-olds decrease and decline in value year from year, as they get older. It happened no matter what your production is. Julio Jones was a perennial top 5 wide receiver. Once he hit 28, he's sliding every single year, basically around. And now we're seeing it happen with DeAndre Hopkins, and then now Davante Adams. We're probably going to start seeing it here soon with a couple other wide receivers like Keenan Allen, Allen Robinson, guys like that, as they start creeping up to that 28. But that is at least what's happening with Davante Adams. Not even mentioning the fact now that Aaron Rodgers is having all of this, dilemma and trouble and stuff with, is he going to be a Green Bay Packer moving forward in 2021 and beyond? So I think a lot of people are wondering, should we move on from Davante Adams because of the Aaron Rodgers stuff? Should we move on from Davante Adams in Dynasty just in general because his value is only going to decline from here? And I think both of those are very solid, reasons to try to look elsewhere and move off of Davante Adams now. Not to mention the fact that he's coming off of a wide receiver 1 overall season, a historic wide receiver 1 overall season that we really hadn't seen before. There's going to be touchdown regression, hardcore coming from him, I think he had 18 receiving touchdowns last year in 13 games, which is absolutely insane. So that's going to be hitting him hard, whether or not Aaron Rodgers is there. And then, so, you could try to move off of almost peak value for Davante Adams, who is being strongly valued and widely considered, at least up until the Aaron Rodgers stuff, the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty, if not a top 3, top 5 wide receiver. So you could look to move him for maybe a younger wide receiver asset, like maybe not like an AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson. You're probably not getting them, but you can move down to other younger assets like DK Metcalf or CD Lamb, stuff like that, to move off him. Or in this case, Jonathan Taylor, which I think also really makes a lot of sense too. So I really like this trade because I think this shows a ceiling value for Davante Adams post Aaron Rodgers might not be a Packer news now, that we still don't know if he is or not. So I like it from that sense because he is maximizing his trade value, I think, in getting Jonathan Taylor. And he's not losing anything in his wide receiver room because he's still got Michael Thomas, Allen Robinson. He's still good to go. So it makes a lot of sense for me on both fronts, both from the teams, because the team that traded for Davante Adams didn't have any other wide receivers, and he had a couple good running backs still, like you said, vice versa for the other team that traded away Davante Adams. But then I also like it because I feel like this is kind of cashing out on Davante Adams and the potential that he loses a lot of value in the short term if Aaron Rodgers is traded to Denver tomorrow, versus also the eventual decline of his value only as he continues to get older and as more fantastic wide receivers that are 6 years younger than him continue to be great,
Okay, so I'm going to agree with you because everything you said is absolutely correct. I'm also going to argue just because I know that this is not the point of what we're doing, but you have to play to your market. Every league is a market. The community is a market. And I think at least the leagues I'm in, the community of Twitter and all of these people, all of our minds are at the point where, yes, you start declining in value when you hit 28 as a wide receiver. That is silly. That is wrong. And the reason is we've seen that it's not that big of a deal. I feel like Calvin Johnson ruined it for everyone. Like, people hit 30 and they're like, they're going to retire. But right. I mean, we've listed a bunch of names already. DeAndre Hopkins, Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, Robbie Anderson. Like, we've seen a change in quarterback isn't the worst thing in the world if you're a good wide receiver. And Davante Adams is, in fact, a very good wide receiver. It helps to have Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball. And we cross fingers, hope that Jordan Love isn't terrible if that switch happens. But sure. It's still, again, not the worst thing in the world for, again, the only real target. Amari Rodgers is okay, and Robert Tonyan showed a little bit, but still, there's a reason Davante Adams had that many touchdowns. There's a reason he always has that many touchdowns. He is very good and very good in the red zone. So I am not at all fading Davante Adams because of the Rodgers news, or even because of his age, or because of, well, I guess the Rodgers news is the chance of a new quarterback. But yes, reality being what it is, you are absolutely 100% correct. This is trading an asset at its ceiling, knowing that every day going forward, his value is going to go down. And you traded it for probably the running back 2 or 3 at this point. I think you just said he was the running back 3 in April's ADP. And
2, yeah.
But 2. And their offensive line is going to get better in a few months when Eric Fisher gets healthy again. And they have a real quarterback that can throw the ball more than 6 yards. So yeah, Jonathan Taylor can actually go up in value, how crazy it is to sound. So perfect move. Absolutely. Based on how the world works, I just may not totally agree with how the world works. But again, that's not what we're here to argue. So let's jump into the values of the trade analyzer. This has Davante Adams at 704.7 and James Robinson at 194.8 for a total after package adjustment of 878.3. Jonathan Taylor comes in at 772.5. So that is a difference of 105, which is about the difference of the 207 and 208. And I feel like we've hit so many trades where the difference is a mid-second. And right. Are you ever going to let that hold you back from a trade? And the answer is just no, it shouldn't. So this trade worked out perfectly number-wise, worked out perfectly for both teams. So you hit a home run again, to switch sports for a second for a metaphor. And yeah, perfect. I think, and I honestly agree with the values in themselves, because like I said before, Taylor is worth a bit more than Adams. And Robinson, yeah, his value got kind of crushed. They drafted ETN. He's probably going to be a role player at this point. So yeah, that value is pretty low. But again, you have to overpay to get the better player, and that's what they did. Right.
Yeah. So I think it's just really interesting. Everybody everybody trying to trade Davante Adams now because of all this news. Like I have him in my home dynasty league, and I have no idea what I'm going to do with him because it's another factor of a home dynasty league. But like, I don't know what to do with Davante Adams because he was great. But if Aaron Rodgers is in there, I don't know what Jordan Love is. He could be, maybe Mitch Trubisky, who still supports Allen Robinson.
I was about to say, how did Allen Robinson do?
Right. Or he
could
be, Drew Lock, who I guess still supports wide receiver twos. Like that's what Sutton kind of was. But like, that's not what you want from Davante Adams. So I don't know. Like there's just a wide range of unpredictability and outcomes that I just don't really want to deal with if Aaron Rodgers gets traded. So I don't really know. Like, would you be looking to move Davante Adams just based on Aaron Rodgers not being there? Like, would you try to flip him for a younger wide receiver? Like, I'm looking through the rest of the DLF trade finder for Davante Adams. Like, there is also another trade that I considered doing for this one. One quarterback is Davante Adams and a 22 second for DK Metcalf, which I feel like.
Yeah, that's fine. You're paying the price to get a lot younger.
Yeah, but I don't know about like the production though. Like the production's not there. You're taking.
We could do an entire hour-long show about how I feel about the Seattle Seahawks players as fantasy assets. It's just honestly, you do it because his name, DK Metcalf's name brings a lot of value, and because he's 22, you probably just gained back like 5-6 years, and you could flip DK Metcalf so much easier than you can flip Davante Adams. So do I want DK Metcalf on my team as my wide receiver one, which Adams probably was? I'm going to say the answer is no, which I don't know if that's hot takey or not, but man, I'm a Seahawks fan. I've seen them play. I know what it's going to be like. But if you were to tell me swap out DK Metcalf with like Tyreek Hill or AJ Brown, I'd be on that. Because again, Hill is probably only like 2 years younger, but still you're getting a little bit younger. You're getting away from that age cliff. You're getting a guy that's going to produce a lot, and
no quarterback controversy.
Exactly. You're not getting yourself in a situation that's bringing anxiety up your body. Like those are two guys in stable situations that not much is really going to change around them. And especially with AJ Brown, they didn't really bring in any pass catchers, so he's going to be the guy. And Tyreek Hill that offense is still exactly what it was. So there's no reason that's ever going to change. So if you are looking to get out of Davante Adams, which from everything you said, it seems like you are, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way you do, then I would feel better if you can't pull this trade off. Like if you can throw a little piece and get Jonathan Taylor, I would honestly do exactly what we just said. Add a second to get younger, pay for that age benefit, pay for that lack of anxiety benefit, and you'll feel better about it. Even if Davante Adams does do another season, 2 seasons of being a top 5 wide receiver, you felt better emotionally, and that it's a game that matters a little bit. So yes, should you trade Davante Adams in the real world? Probably. Or ride him to another 2 championships and just you'll lose out on some value and call it a day.
So just to run down, there's a couple more trades in here. These are all from the past week.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna list them off real quick. Okay. I don't really need to get into them. Davante Adams in the 110 for AJ Brown in the 211. Davante Adams for Jerry Jeudy in the 106. Davante Adams for DeAndre Swift and Brandon Cooks. Davante Adams. Cooks. Yeah, Davante Adams and a 22 first for DeAndre Swift. Davante Adams for Calvin Ridley and Jalen Reagor.
Oh, I'm in.
I like that one.
Me and Calvin Ridley, so I'm in on that one. Yeah, I would.
Davante, Aaron Jones, Mike Davis for Keenan Allen and Zeke, and then
I'd much rather have the Davante side on that one.
Right, and then Davante and Josh Allen for Justin Fields, Cam Akers, and a 1st and 2nd next year.
Yeah, that's too unknown for Josh Allen and Davante Adams. I don't like that.
So it's at least from this, and I think what I wasn't really sure before coming into this and really looking at the trade finder is I wasn't sure if Davante Adams was still fetching those prices, but it seems to me like he still is. Like you're still paying for Davante Adams.
Yes, you are absolutely
trading away Davante Adams.
Yes, you can still. It seems like you can still get Davante Adams prices, and I was actually kind of surprised to see that all it took was like a future first to get a young stud running back. And if I could do that, especially if I'm as ego-filled as I'd like to pretend to be. That pick's going to be late anyway, so why not give them the 112 next year and Davante Adams go get Swift or Taylor or... Actually, it's probably the only two I'd probably do that for. But yeah, so yeah, go trade Davante Adams. Break my heart and trade Davante Adams away. It's fine.
Trade Davante Adams to Russ.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that. Yeah, hit me up. All right, well, on that note, this has been the DLF Trade Show. I am Russ Fisher, Dynasty Outhouse, Addison Hayes at AmazeHayes_, and we will catch you next time.